Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today we're gonna be looking at my spring favorites. I am so excited. I am a huge seasonal wearer if you're not familiar with me or my channel. So every season I will take an empty swatch wheel and just fill it up with polishes that I'm trying to wear for the coming season. And I'm just so excited about this one. I really love how this came out, so let's just get into the swatches. The first polish that I have is actually a topper, and this one is Cirque's Nimbus. This is just a super delicate silver micro glitter. It's pretty hard to pick up here on camera, but it is just the perfect dainty topper, and I love wearing this over creams. Next up, we have KBShimmer's Meow or Never, which is this really cute light gray crully base that's packed with both matte and metallic hex glitters in various colors and sizes that kind of range from purple to periwinkle to white. And there's a very delicate hollow shimmer in there as well. I love this crully for spring because I feel like it's such a great transitional kind of shade where it reminds me of the cold, rainy type of weather, but it's still so cozy with this color scheme. Next up, we have Ave Raindrop, and this is probably not a surprise to anybody, at least if you're familiar with my channel and my reviews. This one came out in last year's spring collection, and it just quickly became a favorite of mine. I just love this blue shade. It's so rich and deep, but still somehow works so well for spring. I guess maybe because of the name, and again, alluding to just the rainy days of spring. I think it's so perfect. So yeah, easily one of my favorites. Had to include it, even if it's a little dark. So if you've seen my zodiac series, starting with Libra, which is my sign, then you're familiar with this shade. This is Cirque's Hygge, and this is another absolute favorite of mine, especially in the spring. But this is such a beautiful shimmery sheer type of polish with a periwinkle base and a bright peachy shimmer, and of course that delicate hollow sparkle, which I don't know if you noticed, but is a bit of a theme in all the polishes that I've swatched, at least so far. I just am so drawn to that dainty little twinkling of hollow, especially in the spring, because it kind of reminds me of like dewdrops or just, you know, a light rain or something. But yeah, this is definitely another absolute favorite in just my whole collection, like top 10 favorites ever. It's just so pretty. So I built it up here in 3 coats to be a little bit more opaque. Next up, we have another Cirque, and this one is Morningtide, which also came out in the Daylight collection last year. So this one is like a periwinkle blue cornflower type of jelly polish. And in case you missed my recent Olive Ave video, I absolutely love this specific color, like this periwinkle blue. It is just one of my absolute favorites. And having it in a jelly form is just so perfect because I love jellies. I think they're so beautiful, whether they're built up on their own or used in nail art, like blended jelly gradients. They're just my favorite, and this color is just so pretty to me. So it's definitely a must-have for me, and even though it is a jelly, as you can see here, built up on 3 coats, it does build up to be pretty opaque, and yeah, here I'm still wearing Olive Ave Genie, which is a pretty close match. So speaking of Olive Ave, I have Lilac to include as my next favorite, which again, as I sort of mentioned in my review video, this is like a perfect periwinkle purple kind of shade, but I guess next to Morningtide, it definitely leans very much like a lilac purple and not as periwinkle. Either way, I absolutely adore this shade. I'm not sure how much you could tell from that bottle shot, but I have used it a good amount. It's just so beautiful, whether it's in nail art, but I especially love wearing this as a full color manicure. Next up, we have Mooncat's Curse of Calypso, which just recently came out, and this right away became a favorite of mine. It was my favorite from that collection and just one of my favorite Mooncat shades ever. It's this incredibly ethereal, magical, shifting shimmer that is definitely very sheer on the first coat, but it does build up really nicely on 3 coats. It's still not fully opaque, so if you're not into shimmery, sheer polishes, maybe this wouldn't be for you, but I especially love this finish in the spring because it just reminds me of like fairies or butterflies, just this ethereal, whimsical, magical feeling. And this shade is just so beautiful. As you can see, it has a beautiful, gorgeous purple base, and the shimmer actually shifts from gold to green in extreme angles. Up next, we have another Cirque polish, and this is Lavender Sky, which also came out in their Daylight collection last year. So this one is a beautiful lavender jelly, and I just have no other words except that I'm obsessed with this. It is such a pretty shade on its own, built up. It just has a beautifully squishy, almost milky kind of look. As I mentioned in some previous video, I don't remember which one, but Cirque almost has 2 versions of jelly polishes where some of them are very see-through and squishy looking, and even on 3 coats you can still see through to your nail line. But then they have other jellies like Lavender Sky and Morningtide that are a little bit more on the crelly side almost, where on 3 coats they just build up to be a little bit more opaque. You could still see through to your nail line, but there's still a little bit of squishiness to it. So either way, I absolutely love their jellies, especially this one. Next up, I have a super old polish for my collection. This one is Noodles Nail Polish Down Under, and it's a metallic holographic glitter mix in a variety of colors from pink to periwinkle to blue and silver, and it is just so beautiful. It's densely packed, which I really love, and I just love this color combination. I think it's so pretty, especially over light purples or blues. So next we have another Olive Ave polish, and this is called Peony, which was from the same collection that Lilac came out in. And these 2 are definitely some of my most used Olive Ave shades. It is this really gorgeous, soft pastel pink. It's picking up very peachy, unfortunately, so it was a little frustrating to not get this color accurate, but it is just such a soft shade, perfect for this season, and that formula is just like butter, so it's so good. Next up is another super old polish from my collection. This is from the indie brand Never Enough, and the shade is called Strawberry Moon. So the base is a crelly version of pretty much what Olive Ave Peony looks like. It's a really pretty peachy pink kind of shade, but this one has a really gorgeous, delicate gold shimmer and this super fine red metallic micro glitter in there as well. It's just pretty sparse, and I've also mentioned this in some other video, but tiny red micro glitter just does something for me. So I absolutely love this one. I've had it in my collection for years, and you know, it's one of those indies that doesn't get restocked, so I just can't bring myself to like use this up, but I love wearing this at least once in the springtime. It's just so pretty. Next up, we have Mooncat's A Midsummer's Dream, which came out last year in their Once Upon a Fairy Tale collection, and I knew right away that this was going to be one of my absolute favorite Mooncat shades. It's this really ethereal baby pink crelly kind of base with a super strong blue shimmer. So this is definitely another one that's very sheer, so you know, if you're not into the sheer polishes, I'm sorry that this is not going to be for you, but how could you not be into it? It's just so magical. I love the fairy vibes that I get from this, and honestly, that whole collection was absolutely stunning, but I'm just always going to be a sucker for a baby pink or a strong blue shimmer. So yeah, this one is absolutely gorgeous, and I just did 2 coats on my swatch wheel, but realistically you probably would need 3. Next up we have another topper, and this is Crystal Tokyo by Cirque. And this is a really beautiful and dainty pink iridescent type of glitter where it's not holographic, not metallic or anything, but actually iridescent. So it kind of has that clear cellophane kind of look, and I just think it is so magical. The colors are predominantly pink and purple, but it has flashes of blue and green, so this looks stunning over a sheer pink, and I just can't recommend it enough. Next up I have another old Noodles. This one is called Near, Far, Wherever You Are. And this one is this almost minty blue kind of crully base with a mix of gold and rose gold metallic micro glitters and a little delicate sparkle of holographic shimmer as well. But this one is just such a pretty shade. I am a sucker for rose gold. I know some people think it's tacky, but I don't know. Jewelry opinions aside, I think rose gold metallic glitters are so pretty, and especially mixed with gold, it's just so beautiful, and I love this base color. Next up I have Sinful Colors aPEAsing, which is this really sweet mint green type of cream. I remember finding this in a Walgreens just randomly one day before work and looking at the name and just laughing to myself because it was so cute. And I bought it right away, and it just became one of my favorite shades. I have no idea if you can even still find this, but if you can, pick it up because I'm pretty sure Sinful Colors is like $3 maybe. And it is just such a beautiful and refreshing mint green. I do have a couple in my collection, but none of them really compare to this one. It's just so refreshing and beautiful. I am kind of struggling with the formula, but that's because it has a skinny brush, but I would say this is like a 2 to 3 coater depending on your nail length. Up next we have Calla Lily from Olive Ave Polish, and this is a new addition to my collection, but I had to include it because there's another polish that I had that was very similar to this soft green crully base with a prominent gold shimmer. But that polish had a skinny brush and was just a lot more finicky to work with. And this one is just smooth as butter. So definitely is going to be in my favorites now. So this one is just such a stunning color. I feel like it gives me Tinkerbell vibes, which again ties into the ethereal, magical, fairy kind of feeling. So I just adore this one. It's just so pretty and delicate and dainty, and I can't wait to wear this as a full mani. And the last green that I have is Orosa's Honeydew, which is this really pretty, almost muted kind of matcha color. And I have become a matcha girl this year. I've been enjoying making my little lattes in the morning. So I just love this specific shade of green. As you might know, I am pretty picky with my green polishes, but I tend to like pastel ones, and if they're too yellow leaning, then I don't like them. But when they're in this specific kind of matcha color family, I'm obsessed. So this is easily one of my favorites. Such a great creamy opaque formula as well. So it's not springtime without yellow, so I had to include Olive Ave's Sunshine, which came out in their last year's spring collection, and easily one of the best yellows in my whole collection. As you can see, this is just one coat, and it is super even coverage, very easy to apply, not chalky. So just for the formula alone, it deserves awards. But I just love this shade of yellow because of how bright and cheery it is. I can also lean towards slightly more pastel yellows in the springtime, but I really love the more vibrant pop of color that this one gives. So to sort of complete my rainbow here, I have China Glaze's Tangerine Heat as my orange pick, and I think this is such a beautiful orange shade that's bright but still a little bit pastel while still being very much an orange and not a peachy kind of color, if that makes sense. I feel like those orange creamsicle kind of shades can be a little hit or miss for me. So I do appreciate having a shade like this that is basically a true orange that's that perfect balance of bright and muted. It's probably looking or picking up a lot brighter here on camera, but I think it's such a gorgeous pop of color, especially as the weather gets warmer, and it's a beautiful accent color in nail art, and I think a great color to carry me into summer. And the last polish that I chose for my spring favorites is Cirque's Fandango, which came out a couple of summers ago, so I guess technically it's a summer color, but because it is incredibly sheer, I think that it can work for spring as well. So this one has a really beautiful coral peachy jelly base with a really strong gold shimmer, and again closing off with that same delicate holographic sparkle. It is just such a beautiful shade. So if you watched my seasonal favorites videos before, I have a polish kind of similar to this one in my summer favorites. So this is definitely a shade that I think is the perfect spring version of that color. So I just absolutely adore this. Again, I know the super sheer shimmery shades aren't for everybody, but if you are into them, I highly recommend grabbing this one if you don't have it already, because it is such a gorgeous pop of color that I think will definitely warm you up in case the weather has not been doing that. So here is a look at my spring favorites swatch wheel with top coat. And I absolutely love how this turned out. I know there's definitely a lot of pastels, maybe with the exception of Raindrop, but I just can't help but be gravitated towards these soft shades. And I thought it was interesting how I had a pretty good mix of shimmers and creams, but a bunch of glitter toppers and crellies. So I feel like overall this is a pretty varied wheel as far as finishes go, but I definitely lean towards a lot of shimmery, sheer, ethereal type of polishes for the springtime. But I still wanted to introduce a couple of pops of color, especially since the weather is going to be getting warmer soon. But right now I'm into the soft pastel shades. So I thought it would be fun to show you all of my seasonal favorites, starting with spring. And then this was my summer favorites from last year, so bright and colorful. Then of course we have my fall favorites, which obviously very vampy. And last but not least, my winter favorites, which was a pretty good mix of vampy and glitzy for the holidays. So here are all of my seasonal favorites. Definitely let me know which one is your favorite, whether it's your favorite season in general or just which swatch wheel you think is the most appealing. I'm a Libra, as you know, so I can't choose. They're all my favorite, and I just love them so much. I'm so happy looking at these. So that wraps up my swatches for my spring favorites. I can't wait to hear what you all think of my choices this season. I feel like this is always so fun to share, and I always look forward to hearing which shades you guys gravitate towards, especially if we have some in common, or even if you go for entirely different shades. Definitely let me know what you're gonna be wearing this season, and also what you think of my wheel, because I'm just really happy with this one. It's probably my favorite so far, but I feel like I say that all the time, so but yeah, I'm just super excited about this too, because this is actually the last installment, I guess, for this series that I did. I mean, I'm gonna continue doing it, but basically I'm saying that I started the series with my summer favorites last year, so that's gonna be the next one we do. So that'll be kind of like the season 2 of my favorites. And I don't know if you're all interested in me continuing this kind of series, because generally I tend to wear the same shades, but I'll still mix it up with different finishes or formulas, because I think I still like to change up what I'm wearing, even though I am mainly sticking to seasonal colors. But I'm just excited about it because it also means that we're coming up on 1 year of my channel. I think I started this channel in early May, which is just right around the corner. So it's just so crazy to me that we're basically done with this series as far as my seasonal favorites. And it's just another step closer to 1 year of being on YouTube. So if you enjoyed this series and my channel, thank you so much. I always appreciate all the sweet comments that I get, and let me know if there's anything new that you'd like to see. I definitely am working on including some other series that I've been thinking about on my channel, so hopefully those will be implemented soon. But if you're looking for anything in particular, definitely leave me a comment, because I would love to read them and I appreciate any feedback that you have. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and leave me any and all thoughts that you have so we can chat about it. But I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.